In the heart of Abeokuta, hidden behind a wooden gate and a crooked mango tree, stood an old weathered house. Inside it lived a man many had long forgotten, Baba Alamu, once a respected teacher, now just a whisper of who he used to be. Baba Alamu, having lost his son, daughter, and daughter-in-law tragically in a motor accident, was left with 3 boys. Not his sons, but his grandsons. Femi, the eldest. He was tall, clever, and had a sharp tongue. Ola, the middle one, was slender, quiet, and watchful. And Tayur, the youngest, restless, loud, and always chasing something. Years ago, their parents, Baba's only children, had died in a tragic bus accident on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Their screams never left Baba's dreams for years, but seeing his 3 grandsons, he was consoled. He showered them with love and poured all his resources into their upbringing and future. School fees, uniforms, hot meals, bedtime stories in a shaky voice. He gave them everything, but they gave him sadness. They dropped out of school and wasted his resources. By the time they turned teenagers, they were known in the streets for everything bad. They joined gangs, gambled, snatched phones, fought in broad daylight. Neighbors locked their gates when they passed. Baba Alamu pleaded, he cried, he prayed, but nothing changed. They were bent on being self-destruction and rebellion. He opened a supermarket and stocked it up for Femi. Femi gambled it away. He bought Ola a coaster bus at his request for a transport business. Ola sold it and disappeared with the money. With his last savings, he opened a big barber shop with new equipment for Teo. Teo sold the shop and everything in it to 3 different people and wasted the money on drugs. Baba Alamo was heartbroken, yet he kept believing and praying they would change. When visitors brought Baba gifts and money, the boys would grab it all, wasting it on parties, drinks, and nonsense. They tormented the old man. Then one day, they found Baba's house documents. And like rats in the night, they connived and sold off every property Baba had worked for, ran away, and squandered the money with their peers. They only spared the one they all lived in. Baba was broken. That day, he cried like a child. He wept helplessly and told anyone who cared to listen. He wallowed in sorrow for weeks, running into months. As the days went by, his back bent deeper and his eyes dimmed. He could no longer cook or bathe himself. He depended on them. And they acted like he didn't exist. Every day Baba would cry and lament about his plight. He thought about the day he would die and wondered what would happen to his corpse. One evening during the Harmattan, when the wind blew dry and cruel, Baba Alamu assembled his 3 grandsons in his room. He lay on his mat, wrapped in 2 faded wrappers, his breath short but firm. Femi, Allah, Tair, come close, he called out to them. Shut the windows and close the doors, because no one should hear what I am about to tell you all. They saw the seriousness in Baba's eyes and knew he had an important thing to say. They gathered around with eagerness to know what it was. There's something I never told you, he said, his voice like rustling leaves. Years ago, I buried a treasure, gold, in this very compound. It was supposed to be your late father's inheritance. But I have passed it on to you. It is your inheritance, though I can't remember the exact spot anymore, but it is stated on my will. The boys froze. They sat stunned and couldn't utter a word. They stared at each other, suddenly alert, and visible happiness on their faces. After my funeral, he continued, the will shall be read. There, you'll find everything, but only if you give me a proper burial. Not the morgue, not the gutter. A man deserves to be sent off with dignity. He added. Then he coughed deep, dry, almost hollow. They said nothing, but in their minds a fire lit. Goal? In this house? They began to ask questions. He looked them in the eyes. But promise me one thing, don't dump me in a morgue when I die. Give me a proper burial, and after that the will shall be read. Only then will you get your inheritance. From that day, everything changed. Something unusual happened. The boys began treating him like a king. They gave him medicine on time, fed him fresh meals, and cleaned his room. Femi bought him painkillers. Ola washed his clothes and wiped his feet. Teo prepared him umla and cut his overgrown nails. They took turns bathing, feeding, and even reading him old newspapers. Each one tried to outdo the other, hoping to win Baba's favor and get a bigger share of the gold. Neighbors whispered, "The boys have changed." But every night, under the moonlight while the stars starred, they grabbed their shovels and tiptoed to different corners of the compound, secretly digging, looking for the treasure. But every time nothing. Yet they continued. They dug. By the well, under the orange tree, near the pit toilet, under the veranda tiles. Still nothing. But Baba insisted night after night. Be patient. Everything is written in the will. Then one morning his breath stopped. Baba Alamo was gone. They cried. Loud, dramatic cries that echoed through the compound. But behind the tears was only one thought. Soon we will be rich. They had all laid down plans and discussed how they would each lavish their share of the inheritance on vanity. I will sell my gold and buy the latest car so I can win Linda's heart, Femi had said. I'd rent a room for 1 year in 5-star hotel and have the time of my life, Ola added. And I would visit all the clubs with my friends and show them I am now a big boy, Teo boasted. It was all vanity. So after Baba's demise, for the first time in their lives, the boys joined heads together and planned something serious. A grand funeral. They borrowed money, printed banners, paid a local band and DJ, hired canopies, and with 3 different food vendors. It was the kind of burial their own parents never had. The whole street came out to watch. They dressed him in white lace and laid him down with music, flowers, and a rented cow. The funeral was grand and successful. Days later, the lawyer came. A tall man in a black agbada with gold embroidery, holding a brown envelope. They gathered in the sitting room, Femi with arms crossed, Teo chewing gum, Olea grinning. The lawyer opened the envelope. And read, according to the wishes of the late Mr. Alamo, the house and compound now belong to Mr. Paul Adewale, a businessman who cared and provided for him in his final days. The deceased states clearly, there is no gold. There never was. Let this be my final lesson to you all. You should never bite the hand that feeds you. Silence. Femi's eyes sparked with anger. Then, what? You're lying. Tayer screamed. We gave him everything. Allah added. They rose to attack. But standing outside was Mr. Paul himself, calm, composed, surrounded by private security. This is no longer your home, he said. And you should thank him. This was mercy. They were dragged out. 3 grown men, thrown into the street. No gold. No land. No second chance. Only debt, anger, and pain. Just the sound of wind rustling the mango tree, and the memory of a man they buried, too late. And then with gloomy faces and teary eyes they realized, the buried lie wasn't gold. It was the truth they refused to face. And when they finally dug deep, they found nothing but the hole they had made for themselves. Please subscribe, like, and share for more interesting stories.